nila, ano bang, in fact, sa ibang bansa, bawal yun.
Oh, pero
Okay.
pero yung kanyang framework
Oh.
ecumenical eh. Parang a dialogue among religions eh. Yun yung kanyang kaya nga halimbawa, very sympathetic
Yun,
siya.
dialogue okay lang.
Very sympathetic siya dito sa mga Palestinians, no?
I mean, Ronald, let's bring in somebody from the Vatican
sige,
mismo.
nasa
Si
Rome,
Jeff Tarayao is there. He's the president, I think, of the Miracle Foundation, ba?
Miracle
Foundation. Jeff, can you give us an idea of what it's like right now over there?
Hello, good morning from Rome. No, I'm here in Piazza San Pietro. Natsyempohan lang na nandito ako nung in-announce ng Vatican News na pumanaw na si Pope Francis. At ngayon, makikita nyo dito, unti-unti nang dumadami yung mga tao no? sa piazza. So yun ang walang
Jeff, yan ang main
kasing
plaza ba?
activity.
Sorry, for those who've never been there, is that the main plaza ng Vatican?
This is the plaza
yan yung main.
in front of the Basilica of St. Peter.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, yung mga silyang nakikita namin, yan ba yung from Easter Sunday Mass pa?
Yes, this
o
was-
inuumpisa ang ilagay ngayon uli?
Sa tingin ko, ito pa yung sa Easter Sunday Mass kahapon. Kung makikita nyo, andun pa yung mga bulaklak.
Yes.
Mula sa misa kahapon. Nung dumating ako dito, siguro about 30 minutes ago, ang mga nandito lang ay yung mga pumapasok papuntang Basilica for the usual pilgrimage. Pero ngayon, pag tinignan mo siya, ang dami nang pumapasok sa loob ng square.
It's around 9 a.m. there, no? Mga 9:30 in the morning?
It's 10:30 in the
10:30,
morning here.
okay.
And if naririnig nyo on my background, yung bell ng St. Peter's ay tumutunog na katulad ng yung mabagal na
Yes.
tunog. No?
Yeah.
So I think that is really the
Tuloy-tuloy na.
sign that we're in mourning that the Pope has passed on today.
Jeff, I wonder, do you see any other signages there or signs saying that, announcing that the Pope Francis has died?
No,
May mga
none.
nakapastil
Kasi
na ba?
alam mo, it's a Monday, it's a holiday here. Kasi the Monday after Easter, I think walang pasok sa Italy, no? Kaya walang activity sa St. Peter's Square also. Official activity. So siguro nagulat ang lahat kasi yesterday I attended the Easter Mass. In fact, naswerte ako. Medyo na late ako sa misa. Hindi ako nakapasok sa gitna. Sa may bandang dulo ako nakatayo. At nung after ng Urbi at Orbi ni Pope Francis, ay lumabas yung Pope Mobile, ano? At ang unang pinuntahan yung dulo kung nandun kami. Kaya nakita pa natin siya kahapon. At he looked very frail, but alam mong nag-exert siya ng effort kasi ang daming tao kahapon dito sa St. Peter's Square. No? Talagang, I think, siyempre, it's the Jubilee. And of course, it's Easter Sunday, the most important feast in the Christian calendar. So a lot of people are really expected to be here. And then, and everybody knows that he's still recovering from pneumonia. But he made an effort to bless the people yesterday and even go around kahapon.
That's a good point. It's the Urbi et Orbi blessing that a lot of people travel far and wide for. Like yourself,
That's
di ba,
right.
Jeff? Oo.
That's right. Oo. Kaya siyempre iba yung feeling ngayong umaga kasi kahapon it's really jubilee, very jubilant, no? Masaya ang mga tao, nagpapalakpakan no nakita nila si Pope Francis. And then all of a sudden this morning, probably after the revelry of Easter Sunday, at dahil holiday ngayon, you wake up to the news na the Holy Father has passed on.
Jeff, can you turn the camera around and show us the people who are beginning to gather dun sa plaza, just so we can have an idea what
I'm trying to figure out how to turn this. Sorry.
Magkaedad ba tayo?
Paano ba ito? Kaya there. I saw the already.
Pero dumadami ng
There you
tao.
go.
Jeff.
There you go.
What I'll do is I'll go around.
Yeah, yes please, yes please.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm here just in front of St. Peter's Basilica, and if you see the people, dumadami na talaga sila dito. I will go at to the center of the square, no? Noong dumating ako dito about 30 minutes ago,
Wala pang tao.
hindi ganito kadami, pero mapapansin nyo na marami na talagang pumapasok.
And everybody seems to be on their phone, ha? Everybody's on their phone
Yeah.
looking for details.
And then, yung St. Peter's Basilica, nagpapapasok pa rin sila ng mga pilgrims. No? I think dire-diretso pa din talaga yan. Kasi maraming nakaschedule naman ng mga pilgrim groups who are going here every day because it's the Jubilee year.
Oo
No?
nga eh.
So, active yung mga nandito. Talagang if you see that, yung mga naglalakad na tao na going to your left, the left of the screen, they're entering St. Peter's Basilica. So, hindi naman tinitigil yan.
Jeff, for those who don't know, how do you get to participate in Easter Mass there? Is that free? Do you just turn up? Do you wait hours?
Walk-in.
Walk-in
Yes,
lang yan?
tawag dito is free to enter
Yeah,
St.
it's
Peter's
walk-in.
Square. It's open to everybody. Pupunta ka lang dito like what I did yesterday.
Pero how early do you show up?
Well, because you expect there's a lot of people, kaya maaga, siguro, the mass started at 10:30. If you want a good place, probably around 9 o'clock, you should be here already.
Oh, that's not bad. Hindi naman mga 4 to 6 hours before.
Hindi naman.
Okay.
But remember, to enter the square, you have to go through security. And I think security yesterday was quite tight. In fact, yesterday, when I was at the back already, medyo parang meron yatang jammer kasi hindi ako makapag-send ng updates to my family that I'm in the square.
Okay.
Oo.
Gumagamit din pala sila ng jammer.
Basta hindi ako
Para-
makapag-send ng date, ng ano,
Oo.
hindi ako
Mahigpit
makapag-send ng
ang-
video or pictures.
Mahigpit ang security kasi meron ng mga death threats dati. Merong attacks na dati on popes, di ba? Nagkaroon na ng mga ganon eh. So,
Yeah, but I think naman yung-
mali, mahigpit sila.
I think yung security naman dito sa Vatican has always been like that. But they're very
ganun lagi.
respectful. Maximum tolerance dito sa St. Peter's Square. But I guess, really, especially today, maraming taong dadating because of this. No? Siguro yung mga hindi pa nakakauwi from yung mga nagbabakasyon, no?
Easter.
Nagpunta dito for Easter Sunday. Yeah.
Do you see anybody bringing flowers already? Which is usually what is done by a lot of people when somebody that they love passes away.
None yet.
Wala pa
None
naman.
yet. We don't see anything like that yet here, no? Maganda pa rin yung St. Peter's Basilica because the flowers from yesterday are still there, no?
Okay.
Sorry, yung crowd.
The bell is still tolling. Am I right? Is
Wala na, tumigil na siya. Tumigil na siya.
Okay. Okay.
Kaninang pagka-announce down ni yung Camarlengo, nag-umpisang mag-toll.
Yes. Oo, I think about 9:35, no?
Kanina
Nag-announce. Oo. Pero yung mga nakausap ko dito kanina, maga pa lang daw. Nagtataka sila yung bell, dire-diretso. I don't think that's from St. Peter's, probably from one of the nearer churches here. But nagtataka sila na
Sige, buhay pa yun noon. Buhay pa kanina.
nagbebell ng dire-diretso. But here, you can hear that just a few moments ago, no? Naririnig mo, it's coming from St. Peter's, yung malungkot na bell.
The slow toll of the bell.
Okay. We'll let you go. Jeff,
Maraming
Okay.
salamat. Jeff
Thank you.
Tarayo, thank you for joining us this
that
afternoon.
was Jeff
Thank you,
Tarayo, President of
Salamat.
Meralco
Thank you.
Foundation. Thanks so much for your reporting and ingat dyan.
Alas 10, pasado pa
Thank
lang
you.
doon ng umaga. So, dadami pa siguro yan.
Yeah, because 7:35 a.m. yung officially yung time of
7
death.
hours ang difference, Gretchen.
7 hours pero daylight saving time. So 6 hours na lang from the Philippines. Nakakagulat because of the recent events lately, seeing the Pope appear on Easter Sunday. I think it's quite a huge surprise to have that because in the first place, he was not expected to appear in the Holy Week activities. They had already declared, the Vatican has declared that he might be missing the Holy Week celebrations, but nakita natin siya, lumabas siya. He was seen.
in the Pope Mobile.
He was seen going to the religious in front of St. Peter's Basilica, even wearing normal clothes. He was seen doon sa labas ng St. Peter's, doon sa kung saan nilalabasan ng bagong Pope, yung door na yon, yesterday. And he was not expected to do all of that. People did not expect him to have enough strength. But what you would notice is that he had an oxygen still attached to him.
A mask.
Meron pa rin yung ang tawag doon,
Tube.
yung meron pa rin yung
Nasal cannula.
which showed that he was still not very well from his condition. It would take time to recover from his double pneumonia because of his age. He is already 88 years old. And alam mo yung
By the
usap-usapan
way,
kasi sa...
that's Gretchen Ho. We have her
sorry,
here
pasensya na.
because she came from the Vatican
Again,
just a
di
few
mo na
weeks
naman
ago.
na-intro. Katulad namin ni Ami.
If you
Gretchen was
remember,
there a few weeks ago
Yes.
covering the Pope as he struggled with his health
he did
condition.
spend 38 days in total in the hospital from February
Yes.
14 to I think March 23. And then it was his longest stay yet.
It was
He
touch
had
and go for a while.
different. He had bouts of bronchitis before in the past years. He had issues with his lungs, pero ito yung pinakaseryoso. Talagang, pero unti-unti rin natin naramdaman yung presensya niya, starting with the voice recording, and then eventually showing himself to the Cardinals in a Lenten recollection via video. And then after that, the Vatican declared slowly that he could be, or he is on his way back to Casa Santa Marta, kung saan siya nakatira sa loob ng Vatican. And then he was seen in the Pope Mobile, moving from Gemelli Hospital to Casa Santa Marta. He did make a detour to Saint Mary Maggiore, yung favorite niya na simbahan doon, and where he has already declared that he wants to be buried doon sa church na yun.
Gretchen, just to back up a bit, when you were there covering, parang I remember, parang almost resigned na yung Pope sa kung ano mangyayari sa kanya at a certain point.
Actually, hindi. Palaban siya. It seemed that he was determined to make it out of Gemelli Hospital because at some point, the priests, when they were not hearing anything, they were not seeing him, they were wondering about his true condition. And then eventually, the voice recording surfaced, so that gave some sort of assurance to the authorities there, to the whole Vatican community there. And then, nakakagulat kasi palaban siya na he was still trying to speak kahit nahirap. And then, yung mga appearance niya na yan, it was seen as, okay na pala si Pope, nagugulat ang lahat. That he was that he had enough strength to appear before his public audiences. And actually, right now, tatawagin ko lang ang isa nating kaibigan sa Rome, Father Coke Prieto, a Filipino priest studying at the Vatican. He has been tuned into this. All of them, actually. He represents the Filipino priests studying over at the Vatican, a vibrant community. Ang dami-dami nating mga pari doon nag-aaral. At lahat kami, kahit sila, nagulat. Father Coke is actually in the Philippines for a vacation. Pero yun na nga, parang binabantayan niya kung kailan niya i-schedule yung kanyang pauwi. Kasi because of the happening. So Father Coke,
Good afternoon, Father.
Good afternoon,
Good
Father.
Good afternoon, everyone.
very, very sad news.
Our
Oo.
condolences, Father.
Yeah, our condolences to every Catholic in the world.
Yes.
This is a very surprising, sad news.
Well, Father, of course, it's a very sad day for Catholics, but how should we take it? I mean, in the end, how should we take it? How should we look at this day?
I think we go back to his homily yesterday. No, he has prepared his homily yesterday for the Easter Mass, and his homily message was very simple. No? Christ has risen.
Christ is our hope. And because He is risen, we have a hope for a life eternal. And I think that is a very beautiful message, a very beautiful goodbye to the people, to the Catholics. His last message yesterday was, I think, his farewell speech to the people, his farewell speech to every human person. And I think if you have listened to his Urbi et Urbi message, that the blessing of the city to the world, that very desire for peace, which is very at the heart of the papacy of Pope Francis, the peace. And I think it was very unusual yesterday that he really identified the situations of each country, from Yemen to Myanmar to South Sudan to the Middle East.
Yeah.
By naming each country, I think he's naming every person, every part of the world, and every person who is suffering. And I think that is his last wish, his dying wish: peace, peace to every people, peace to every part of the world. And
Father, you've
because
been
of this,
studying, you've been studying in Rome.
Yes.
Tanungin lang namin, anong mood doon ng simbahan? Are they, can we expect a sustained, the policies of this Pope? Alam naman natin, he's a modern Pope. Inclusive nga, yun ang ginagamit nating word ngayon. Masa-sustain kaya yan? O ano yung mood sa Vatican? Or is there a strong desire na papansin nyo to go back to the conservative ways of the church?
I don't think so. I think the church is always moving forward. The church is always moving forward towards the real call of the gospel. And I think this move of the Holy Father is an open air coming into the church, and always it's an always call to renewal. So this will be sustained by the next Holy Father. And I think we trust with what the old proverb would say: the Lord will give us a leader that will be very appropriate at that proper time, at that proper experience of the people. And I think the next Pope would really respect and continue the Pope Francis legacy that he has given us for the past 13 years.
Kanina nga, Father, napag-usapan namin yung sermon ni Pope Francis nung in-elevate niya yung ating 21 bishops into Cardinal last December 7, kasama si Cardinal Ambo David. So, very reflective yan doon sa pinapaliwanag nyo ngayon, yung kanyang spiritual ethos, na basically reflective doon sa kanyang very important encyclical, yung Fratelli Tutti, no? Na medyo hindi masyadong kilala pa, halimbawa dito sa ating bansa. Pero very significant ito dahil kinukumpara ito dun sa Universal Declaration of Human Rights dati, no? Dahil yung ethos nito ay hindi lang naman siya simpleng classic Jesuit na spiritual discernment at saka synodality, pero very game-changing yung kanyang message na reaching out to other cultures, other religions, and even to Mother Nature. Yun yung isang essence nung encyclical na yun na hindi lang ito about humanity, it's also about the environment. No?
Yes, that's true.
Kaya mahalaga na balikan yung encyclical na yon na hindi pa masyadong naipapaliwanag, halimbawa sa Pilipinas, na very Catholic yung more than 80% ng ating populasyon.
Father
It is very true. Yes.
Naalala ko ay pinag-uusapan natin that grabe palaban talaga itong si Pope Francis when we all thought he was too weak to recover from this. He was able to get out. He was able to show himself to people. But on the other hand, there were some priests who mentioned to us that he had unfinished business still at the Vatican, particularly with the auditing of the financial activities of the Vatican. Was he able to do anything on that end after he got out of the Gemelli Hospital?
With, if you mean clear announcements and clear decrees that would follow up that said,
Father, are you there?
Father
Freeze.
Pope?
Nag-freeze ata yung...
Medyo mahina kasi ang signal to ni Father Coke, ano. Just
Please.
to put that in perspective, ayun nga kasi, no, even if he is very close to the people, when you ask the people around him at the Vatican and you ask about his leadership, he was actually very strict. Sinasabi nga ni Father Coke na conservative nga siya. Sa palagay nila, conservative siya. Kahit na game-changing yung ano.
I
Ayan na,
think
there
there is
you
none
go.
as
Father Coke, we missed you a bit there. You were lagging. Your internet connection was lagging. But can we have that again? Ano,
Sorry.
was he able to do anything when it comes to the auditing that he was planning to do?
if we are looking for concrete decrees or concrete announcements, there is none as of now. But surely we are assured that this is an ongoing process, and this is always a topic that is being discussed on meetings with the cardinals and bishops around the dicasteries of Rome.
Well, after yung isa pang progressive pope, si Pope John Paul I, yan din yung tutok niya, Gretchen. Yung ayusin yung finances ng simbahan. No? At yung isang focus niya is to clean the Vatican Bank. At naging controversial yan dahil dun kay Archbishop Marcinkus ng an American na very controversial na nagpapatakbo doon ng Vatican Church. Ng Vatican Bank. No? Kaya mukhang yung ginawa ni Pope Francis ay pagpatuloy yung ganong klaseng pag-aayos. Dahil yung Catholic Church, isa sa pinakamayaman na institusyon sa buong mundo. At dahil pinakamayaman, vulnerable siya sa mga some might say scandals, no? Even within the church. Kaya ayaw niyang maging magpatuloy yon. Kaya
Medyo naging controversial nga yung pag-set up niya ng task force for that auditing to happen because of the reception. Medyo, actually, hindi naman sa ayaw nilang magpa-audit, ano? But also, given the conservative nature of the church, pagka in-audit ka, ibig sabihin na, wala ka bang tiwala sa akin? Ganun ang nagiging dating. Pero there are those who actually welcome this because we do know that the Vatican was facing financial troubles right before, yun nga, napabalita sa Reuters, I believe, that he was dealing with this. He had a clash with the Cardinals, quoting from them, over those financial struggles, yun nga, kung saan napupunta yung pera, and dealing also with the pension fund of aging clergy. So he was looking into that. But Father Coke, what are you hearing from your end as to the health of the Pope? This surprised us so much, but was there any indication at all that he was on his...
Yeah, I think we lost him again.
He was there. He's there. Father, can you hear us?
Yes.
It's a little bit choppy.
Yes.
Okay.
Was there any indication at all that he was on his final stretch? Kasi alam natin yan, pinag-uusapan natin yan, no, na parang huwag tayo makampante kasi baka may final burst of energy before this happens. So, did you have any indication from your end about his real state of health?
I think we are all surprised of what had happened. No? We thought that it was a good news. It was a very beautiful news yesterday to see him in the Pope Mobile after more than 2 months in his Pope Mobile and going around the Vatican, going around St. Peter's. So I think that's one of the most the most beautiful news we had yesterday. However, we are just saddened. I just received a news right a few minutes ago about this one. So I think we have no signals of his weakness. So we are just very much surprised of this bad news that we have received today.
Father Coke, we were also just, before you joined us, we were also just talking about the significance of this. You mentioned the Urbi et Orbi and how he appealed for peace across the world, specifically appealing for peace Gaza and sa Ukraine. He also mentioned Myanmar. He also mentioned the plight of migrants. How do you think this might change? Are you worried that this might change? Because this is, of course, these are politically sensitive issues in this day and age. Meron ka bang sense of how the Catholic Church is looking at this?
I don't think so, because this the core of Pope Francis's teaching, especially for peace, for migrants, are all embedded in the basic Catholic catechism of the faith, and it is very much embedded into the very teachings of Jesus. So I firmly believe that these movements that Pope Francis have begun, these teachings, these works, especially for the good of people and the good of humanity, will always continue, whoever the next Pope will be elected.
Mahalaga yung sinabi nyo kanina, Father, no? Yung future, forward-looking si Pope Francis, no? Lalo na dito sa kanyang encyclical na Fratelli Tutti, no? Yung synodality, yung inclusivity ng kanyang message sa kanyang mga sermon ay talagang forward-looking. Pero at the same time, nakaugat ito sa nakaraan. Dahil ang kanyang term of reference is the early church. The church Christianity of the catacombs, no? Yung first 300 years before it became a state religion. So, forward-looking, pero rooted din dun sa significant history, yung formative years ng Christianity.
Very much true, sir. Because sometimes we correct the people when they say that Pope Francis is progressive and liberal. But if you look at and really learn and study his teaching, you could even say that he is the most conservative, because he goes back to the basic and fundamental teachings of the church, even from the first era, the fathers of the church, the Bible. No? He goes back to these basic themes, basic realities of the church, and brings this into a new perspective in this contemporary time. So the issues that we have now is not really contemporary, but an old one that continues to evolve. And Pope Francis goes back, leads us back to what makes us a church years ago, and brings it and finds a new way of living that church today.
Pero di ba yun yung message naman talaga ng early Christianity eh? It was very progressive.
Yes, that's true.
It was a religion based on persecution. Tinutugi sila eh. They were basically underground. Kaya nga, they were reaching out beyond yung mga Hudyo. They were reaching out to other cultures, other religion. Kaya in that sense, progressive siya. No, ang pinag-uusapan na conservative.
That's why it's called Catholic, because it's a faith that embraces.
Yes. Ang binabanatan niya na conservatism ay yung ang tawag niya standing still in a bureaucratic way. No, rather than walking or journeying. Yung tinatawag niyang synodality is about journeying eh. It's about communication eh. 'Di ba? Yun yung kanyang self-criticism na minsan nawawala sa simbahan. Parang naiiwan yung bureaucracy, nawawala yung essence. And that essence, based dun sa early days ng Christianity, was very progressive. Hindi siya institutional pa.
Yes.
But there's also a good reason why he's being seen as more progressive and liberal, right? This was the Pope that said homosexuality is not a crime, who made an effort to reach out to migrants and to other parts of the world that were often overlooked. He acknowledged the sexual abuses of the church. There's also a reason why he's being seen that way, right, Father?
Yes, in some way, yes. But again, it goes back to the basic, fundamental teachings of the church. The question on homosexuality is very much alive and very much clear, even in the CCC that was composed and promulgated by John Paul II in the 1990s, where it was very clear that homosexuality by itself is not a sin. The act is the act. It is the act that it makes it sinful, but the very person is not a sin in itself. No, it was very clear from that very moment. No, so maybe it is progressive because it looks beyond what is experienced now. It gives us a greater view, a greater perspective, coming from a faith, rootedness in the reality of the Christian faith, and the teachings of Jesus.
So, Father, how should we remember Pope Francis? I suppose he was a very inclusive pope, but at the same time, he also
Yes.
hewed very closely to traditional doctrine. Is that the right way of putting it?
Maybe I would like to remember him with what with the theme of this year's jubilee. He is the Pope of hope. He brings us hope. He gives us hope. He gives us hope that the church, that the gospel is not irrelevant. It is a very much necessary reality that we need to hold on and we need to cultivate. That fraternal brotherhood, that our own human connectedness is not something that is abstract, but it is real, that we need to foster, that we need to fight for. That the ecology, the creation is not just a utility that we need to take care. And I think Pope Francis is a Pope of hope that gives us, yes, humanity is fallen, but God has loved us. And because of this love, we have the capacity to move forward and become better. I think even the movement for transparency, movement for all
Losing Father.
We're losing.
Sorry, Father, we're losing you. Okay, let's go back to Father when the signal gets better.
It's a reality of hope. Do better.
Father, we'll try calling you again.
Sorry,
Kasi
Father.
the line
Yes,
is
yes,
a little bit choppy, but it is the top of the hour. So let's just recap our big news for today. For those who are just joining us, Pope Francis has died at 7:35 a.m. Vatican time today, Easter Monday, April 21st. He died at his residence, Casa Santa Marta, inside the Vatican. And this was confirmed by the Camerlengo of the Apostolic Chamber, Cardinal Kevin Farrell. Pope Francis was born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and he was the 26th pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church. He was elected Pope on March 13, 2013. So more or less exacto 12 years, no? He was Pope for 12 years. He had expressed his wish to be buried at the Basilica of Saint Mary Major in Rome. And of course, this is coming off the back of a long hospitalization. He was in hospital at Gemelli Hospital for 38 days for double pneumonia. At one point, as Gretchen mentioned, he also acquired bronchitis, and it was touch and go for a little while. But his death is also coming as a surprise because he had made an in-person appearance yesterday, Easter Sunday, during the Easter Sunday Mass, which he did not preside over, but towards the end, he surprised many by coming out in his Pope Mobile and blessing the crowd, what's known as the Urbi et Orbi blessing to the city and to the world blessing that's traditional for the Easter Sunday Mass. We were just talking to Jeff Tarayaw, the president of Meralco Foundation, who happened to be there mismo during the Easter Sunday Mass, and he said that the Pope looked frail when he saw him at his Pope Mobile, pero he was trying his best to, of course, still engage with the crowd. And he also delivered an Easter Sunday message, which was, it was from him, but it was delivered by a cardinal in which he appealed for peace, especially mentioning the war in Gaza and Ukraine, the disastrous earthquake in Myanmar, as well as the plight of migrants around the world.
Mahalaga yung tanong mo, Ede. How will we remember him? Or how should we remember him? Kaya nga dinadala ko doon sa kanyang encyclical. Dahil in a way, yun yung kanyang ideology. Doon siya nanggagaling. Pag sinabi mong he represents traditional values, not necessarily. Dahil marami siyang debate mismo sa Korea. Dahil nga, syempre, interpretation yan eh.
But yeah, yung ano niya kasi, it's not so much the values as it is yung going beyond the abstractions of the values eh. Like what Father nga was saying kanina, it's the human connectedness eh.
Yeah.
It's how you make people understand the abstractions and make it relate to them. Otherwise, kasi you're just that's also the reason why a lot of Catholics have turned away from the church because of sometimes the church deals with so much abstractions that they cannot relate anymore.
Yeah.
And this was a pope who tried to reconnect again.
Well, at a particular moments in history kasi, ay yun yung nagki-keep sa church together.
That's also
diba?
true.
Pero
But that's also the problem
pero
sometimes when
pero yung mundo
church becomes too
natin,
powerful.
malaki na yung pinagbago eh.
Yeah.
Malaki na yung pinagbago ng mundo, di ba? Dati hindi naman debate ang identity eh. Ngayon debate na. Dati hindi masyadong issue ang environment.
Yeah. Kaya
It's a survival issue na. So
that's-
pumupunta si Pope Francis sa ganung mahalagang mga usapin na hindi at a particular moment ng simbahan, hindi naman siya concerned pa masyado. Halimbawa, environment. Halimbawa, gender. No, hindi naman
Not just environment, but he warned of the dangers of climate change.
Yeah.
So, which is why the question is, whoever takes over, whether it will continue along that path, yung mga values and teachings, right? Apart from the abstractions, it's also interesting to hear that he was battling real-world problems, bureaucracy.
That's
right?
true.
He was trying to clean up the budget.
He was actually very, very pragmatic also. He knew his politics because apart from his announcements towards a more progressive church, he was also appointing a lot of cardinals. In fact, a total of 110.
110.
Out of the 138 cardinals eligible to vote for the next pope is appointed by Pope Francis. And many of those come from new countries that have been added to the list. They're now being represented. So, inclusivity is
Kasama
not
na
just
yung-
hindi lang salita, no? Pero he was doing something about it to make the church felt in many different parts of the
So
world.
80% of the voting cardinals were appointed by Pope Francis.
That's true. So, the group is
at
more
mga
diverse.
mga bata.
Mga bata.
With a higher representation from Asia,
Yun na nga,
Africa,
yeah.
Latin America, reflecting the goal of the Pope to mirror the Church's global reach. And the youngest cardinal elector is only 45 years old, a Ukrainian clergyman based in Australia.
And of course, kasama na dyan si Cardinal
Ambo.
Luis Tagle.
Yeah,
No,
mga
that-
60s, late 60s sila.
but whom he appointed as prefect of the
At an early age.
congregation of the evangelization of the peoples, effectively the equivalent daw of a cabinet secretary of the Roman Catholic Church.
But there are still those who want to keep it to, I mean, to
Traditional.
to the traditional form of the church, which is may sect doon na they want to keep it very European-centric.
Yeah.
So,
Talagang sect ang tawag mo.
may part of
Sect
the
is not
Vatican,
necessarily a bad thing.
may part
It's not
of the
necessary. It
Vatican
depends how you
leadership
define it.
who are resisting the decisions of Pope Francis. In fact, there were rumors of some Italian cardinals meeting when the Pope was in critical condition at the Gemelli Hospital. So there twice nangyari yung meeting, yung rumors of that meeting happening because nga the bigger question here is who will be the next leader of the church in the modern world.
So the
Kaya sinasabi ko
father.
kay Reg kanina, Gretch, more than a year ago, lalong-lalo na nung nagkasakit si Pope, grabe ang banat kay Cardinal Tagle. Talagang black pro. At kung kilala mo si Cardinal Chito Tagle, alam mo na hindi siya ganon. Pero makikita mo, merong organized offensive. No? Na by indication, coming from the US.
No, when we were there,
Ano na,
that's true.
jockeying
Because
for position na.
Conservative,
when we were there, when the Pope was in the hospital in critical condition, our priest friends, pinakita sa atin sa YouTube, no, every day may lumalabas na
Yes.
bagong video hyping up Cardinal Tagle to be the next Pope. Kind of presenting him to be ambitious. to
Tapos
want-
babanatan.
Babanatan.
Ikukul mo na siya as the...
Very hopeful.
Yeah,
On one hand, you're not sure if they're trying to get more views to monetize their videos. But on the other hand, bakit every day? Every single day, there's a new account created. There's a new video created. That's why Cardinal Tagle was also evasive of media interviews. Actually, kahit feature lang, napapakita lang, ayaw niya
Yeah,
talaga.
I would be. Kasi
Oo.
it could be taken either way. Right?
Sophisticated
Could
yung
be used
attack
against
Dahil
him.
at first glance, akala mo pinupuri siya. Akala mo
Ayun
ina-enhance
pa.
siya as the next pope.
Hindi.
Pero pagkatapos nung first 10% na yon, puro
Bigla may
balat
sundot.
na. Puro balat na. Yung 80-90%
Medyo
durog
subtle
na.
yung ano nila.
Oo. Pero sa simula,
subtle
akala
attack.
mo pinupuri siya. Akala mo ay ina-assure na siya as the successor. Pero pag binasa mo na, pag pinakinggan mo na, puro balat na.
Parang Pilipinas ang peg, ah.
Oo. Kaya nga, nung nakausap ko yung several bishops, sabi ko, sila, nag-agree sila, very organized ito. It's a PR demolition job. No? At hindi ba sasagot si Cardinal Tagle? Sabi nila, hindi. Hindi niya hilig yung ganyan.
But he did have a homily against fake news, calling out fake news. So, I heard that from him twice.
Yeah.
One was, I think during the Holy Week, probably Good Friday, I remember, or Holy Thursday, meron siyang homily on fake news. And the other one was in a Lenten recollection given to the Filipino community there in Rome. So obviously a little bit affected by all the fake news coming out. But when it comes to being an actual contender, syempre one of the strong names talaga si Cardinal Tagle, but he is not the only strong contender for the papacy. This is actually a very, very sensitive issue to them, talking about who the next pope is going to
Exactly.
be. They did
Yun
not
na nga
want
eh.
to talk about or bring that issue up,
Yeah.
which was quite understandable because if somebody you love or somebody dear to you or somebody that powerful is in critical condition, you don't talk about who's going to replace that person.
Correct. But although this was confirmed by Father Aris, our first guest today, officially it's declared vacant na. The seat is declared vacant na. Sede vacante, as they call it. And there will be a period of 9 days of mourning, after which the College of Cardinals will convene to decide on the next.
I think that's 9 days.
9 days of mourning, tapos yung...
Pero Pedro,
And then 2 to 3 weeks before the conclave happens.
Before the conclave.
Because
So
the
the
Cardinals will
funeral
have to
first.
fly in.
Yes.
They have to get the funeral down first
Yes,
before
yes,
the
that's correct.
start
pero
of
very
the conclave.
dramatic yung passing niya, no? Immediately after Easter.
Oo nga, it's very
After
symbolic.
physically showing
Yeah.
at giving a sermon, no?
And and also Jubilee nga, as pointed out by our guest earlier. Oo nga, no, it's also Jubilee, which is
Jubilee
a
year.
huge significant milestone in the Catholic calendar, right? Jubilee the year this year, tapos magkakaroon ng new pope. I mean, how does that change the equation? Because holiness aside, the truth of the matter is, here on earth, you are choosing a leader of a 1.2 billion? Ilan na yung
1.4
Catholic?
billion.
1.4 billion Catholics around the world. That is an immensely powerful position, right? I mean, put the holiness aside for a second. And this is a...
no less than the president of the lone superpower, pinabanatan siya. Dahil ganun siya ka-importante.
You're talking about China?
Lone superpower?
Joking.
Sino ang lone superpower?
Actually, binabanatan din siya. Actually, may negotiation ngayon between the Vatican.
Binabanatan siya, except the vice president went to see him. Siya pa yung last audience.
Wala naman siyang choice kundi harapin yun, di ba?
Let's bring in our next guest for today. We have Brother Lynch Flores. He had a personal encounter with Pope Francis. Brother Lynch, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to everyone, to all our Filipino
Magandang hapon po.
brethren who are with us. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Brother Lynch, where are you now? Are you in the Philippines or are you in the Vatican?
Yes po, I'm here po sa Manila. I arrived mga 2 or 3 weeks ago po, coming from Rome.
Okay, tell us about your encounter, Pope. When did you encounter the Pope?
Well, the first encounter that I had with the Pope was in 2014. We were 2 youth members of the church, and then dala po namin at that time yung what we promote, because in the Philippines, nagdadala po kami ng mga saints sa mga hospitals, sa mga schools. And then we told the Pope na ito po yung aming ministry sa Philippines, and we asked for his blessing. At that time po, yun po yung time din na nahingi ko yung skull cap niya. Because there's this tradition that you can actually bring a skull cap to the Pope, and then he would remove the one he's wearing, bibigyan niya kayo. So, magpalit. So,
May palit.
that was my first encounter po. And then, of course, it was followed ng ilang beses pa rin po. I even, with all humility, I was even able to embrace him. That was in 2016. Pero last year po, we were there again for a pilgrimage, doon ko na po nakita na nag-recline na rin talaga yung health niya. He was already on a wheelchair. But he would still spend time. Ang dami po namin nag-aantay sa kanya. He would really spend time, 2-3 minutes per person. Can you imagine the zeal that he has to help everyone encounter Jesus in his person?
Brother, did you keep the skull cap from 2014?
Yes po. Yes po, it's a lasting memento po of our beloved Pope. Kasi iba talaga din po eh. Imagine nyo, he went to the Philippines para damayan tayo during the Yolanda. Opo, so hindi lang talaga siya Pope na nagpapakita sa news or nagbabasa ng mga press releases, but he's a Pope who's in touch with reality. Mahal niya yung mga tao. And when he says that, he really means that po.
Brother, sorry, side question lang. Paano yung hiningi, yung skull cap?
Meron po kasi talagang tradition po na ganun. If you will be given the grace to meet the Pope, it's a long tradition na magdadala ka ng skull cap na brand new. And then, of course, it is still depende pa rin po sa Pope.
Of course.
And when I showed him, of course, we conversed a little and then binigyan niya kami ng rosary. Tapos, bago natapos yung aming pag-uusap, pinakita ko po, dahan-dahan kong inilabas sa bulsa ko. Tapos tumawa na rin siya. Tapos kinuha niya and then binigyan niya sa akin yung suot-suot niya po. But that was in 2014 po.
So gets niya kagad. You didn't even have to ask for it. You just showed that you had a replacement.
Opo, at that time also, that was in October, we were preparing already for the visit of the Pope in the Philippines in 2015. Di ba po, January pumunta siya. Sabi niya pa, we called him Lolo Kiko. We really liked that. So, we called him Lolo Kiko. And then he said, see you in the Philippines. He was really looking forward na makita po tayong mga Pilipino.
Oh, that's Pinoy.
Yeah.
No?
Di ba punta siya rito?
Yeah. Sorry, brother, we're looking at the video right now.
Was that 2015?
2015, January siguro to.
Yes,
tama,
opo,
2015.
January 2015. In fact, I was able to even attend some of his he would always remember that word Lolo Kiko. Talagang natandaan niya po yun. And when it is mentioned, Ambassador Mercy Tuason, no, she would be able to relay na talagang pag binanggit yun sa Pope, parang susi sa kanya. He would really smile. He would remember, mga Pilipino to. Kasi nga, of our love for our elders.
Nabanggit yung brother na he's very down to earth. How did he manifest that to you?
Opo. Kasi po syempre, of course, he's not just a pope, he's not just a priest or a bishop. He's also a head of state, no? Powerful post also. Hindi lang siya religious post, but being the head of a state, talagang you're also very much respected. But whenever he would come and see you, parang yung oras niya nasa iyo lang. Pagkausap ka niya, hindi mo na siya, kasi magkakatabi po kami, no? Ang gagawin niya, pag ikaw yung kausap niya, ikaw muna yung kakausapin niya. Kahit na kinakausap na siya ng mga katabi niya, nakafocus siya sa'yo. And I remember si John Angelo, no? He's Filipino with cerebral palsy. Now when the Pope came here in 2015, binigyan niya ng Mama Mary na gawa sa feet stitch. Paan niya ginamit niya. So we told him when we got to see him after the visit of the Pope, this was in 2016, Holy Father, kinukumusta po kayo ni Angelo, yung bata may cerebral palsy, na binigyan kayo ng cross stitch. Sabi niya, oo. Sasabi ko, Holy Father, hindi niyo daw siya nabigyan ng rosary nung pumunta siya dito. Tapos napatawa yung Pope. Kasi nga, when you see him, after he greets you, magbibigay siya ng gift. But this boy was not able to get his. So, nilakas ako na yung loob ko na bangitin, Holy Father, hindi niyo daw siya nabigyan ng rosary. Tapos sabi niya, oo. Kinuha niya yung picture ni Angelo. And then he sent me, sabi niya, please, patuloy niya ako ipagdasal. He's really not just a leader, he's also a father to everyone po.
Did you get a chance to go to the Vatican, brother? I was just
Yes
wondering.
po.
Okay.
Yes po. These things, all these things po happened in the Vatican.
As a Vatican, I thought when he came to visit pa rin.
Opo, hindi po. In 2014, and then even last year, when I met him na naka-wheelchair na siya, doon po sa Vatican po.
Brother, in 2014, you were a young boy then, or were you already a brother? Sorry, I can't figure out your,
Opo,
your age.
I was 24 at that time.
Okay.
So,
Bata pa.
matagal-tagal na rin po siya. And that was my first encounter. Yun po yung time na nga, na nahingi ko yung skull cap niya.
You know, Pope Francis wasn't initially. He wasn't. He was seen as a surprise pope. Parang hindi naman
It took
talaga
several
siya.
votes eh.
No.
It took several cycles.
Hindi naman talaga siya dapat yung initially. He wasn't the expected successor, but he took people by surprise because he's the first Latin American pope. He's the first Jesuit pope. What were your hopes at the start nung naging siya yung pope?
Well, at that time po, we were all taken aback. We were all taken aback when the Pope resigned. This was in 2013.
Oo, si Pope Benedict the
Yes.
16th.
Yes, Benedict the 16th. That, I think if I'm not mistaken, that was February 11, 2013. So, we were taken aback na nag-resign, and then at that time, ang unang tinatanong was, who would be the next pope? Kasi when John Paul died in 2005, hindi agad nag-antay, hindi agad na pag-usapan yung who will be the next pope. Because people were mourning for Pope John Paul. No, this time, buhay pa yung nag-resign, and then they were discussing who would be. But the whole church, the whole world was surprised to see Pope Francis, and he even took a name that's not common.
Yeah.
Kaya nga po, he's not given Francis the First or whatever. Francis lang, kasi he's the only one with that name in the centuries tradition of the church. But this is how the church works. This is how the Holy Spirit works. He would really choose kung sino yung alam niya na mag-lead the Holy Spirit would lead us, yun po yung nangyari. So, when he was elected, it was a gift for the church. I'm very sure because it is what is much needed. Openness, compassion, di ba yung kanyang mercy and compassion. And this is what he did up to the very end. Kahit kahapon, pagod na siya. Imagine, he still went around. Last day niya, parang, I was watching, no, sa TV po, it would be his last day on earth. And yet, he still went around the piazza. Kahit naman nakakotse ka, nakakapagod po, especially for an old man. So up to the very end of his life, yung kanyang motto na mercy and compassion, talagang isinabuhay po niya.
That's a good point that you raised. The choosing of the name. Give us more insight into that. Do new popes get to choose their name, whatever they want, or may tradition they follow a tradition talaga?
From my understanding, each pope, of course, if he is elected, a cardinal, if he is elected, he would be given the opportunity to choose a name that he would like to follow. For example, John Paul chose the name John Paul II because he succeeded John Paul I, who was just Pope for 33 days.
Correct.
Pope Benedict followed Benedict XV. Now, in this case, I think Pope Francis has a strong devotion to Saint Francis, who's the saint of poverty, simplicity, and helping people.
Of
And that
Assisi.
was really, kaya yung magiging name na pipiliin nila would give you an idea of what kind of papacy they would be living. And this is what he truly did. I recall, kinorek kami because we were calling him Pope Francis the First. Sabi niya, no, you cannot do that. Because there's no such thing as the first. Siya pa yung unang-una. In the centuries, if you go there sa, sa St. Paul, Basilica of St. Paul, nandun lahat na naging popes. Talang yung unique, Francesco.
So it's either you follow your predecessor or you choose a name that's meaningful to you.
Yes, you may follow your predecessor, you may choose a saint, or what is meaningful for you po.
Bottom line, you choose your name.
Yeah, they have their prerogative.
Kahit ano.
Because you're the Pope already.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's certain conventions I'm sure they also follow that you can't choose a. I mean, these are all still old names, right?
Well, Francis
names
is
of
not an old name.
saints,
Yeah.
names of ano.
Actually, walang rules.
Wala talaga
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah, they get to choose.
Gusto mo ang pangalan.
Opo, so like John the 23rd was the 23rd Pope named John. So in this case, he chose a very unique name, Francis. And it gives a glimpse of what he would be doing, which he actually did. And makikita naman po natin up to his very last breath.
Inspired to live a life of Christian life of poverty. Saint Francis of Assisi. That was emulated when the Pope decided not to live in the lofty castle of the papal apartment, pero dun siya sa Casa Santa Marta, no? Dun sa kung saan nagsistay yung mga cardinals when they go for a conclave, hindi na siya umalis dun. So
Yes.
he is
It's a very simple. It's actually distant from the papal apartments, but you will see his poverty is not just in ano po ha, yung kanyang humility is not just by becoming simple, because when he needs to function as pope, he would go there sa papal apartments. He would
yes.
greet the crowd there, but he would still go back to his his identity, what he would like to live out sa Casa Santa Marta.
Yeah. But simplicity in life, but also in death. He also changed the traditions, at least in his case, for the funeral for the Pope. Binago niya. He made it. It always was a very elaborate affair kasi in the past. But for his case, he decided to have a simpler funeral.
Kaya very critical
Yes,
siya sa
and he
mga...
would not be buried in in the Basilica of
Yeah.
St. Peter's at Santa Maria Maggiore, because he was
Santa
very
Maria
devoted
Maggiore.
to the Blessed Virgin.
O doon siya dumadaan, no? Pagka pupunta siya sa ibang bansa, bago siya umuwi, dadaan muna siya sa Santa Maria Maggiore. And yun nga yung dinaanan din niya on the way from Gemelli back to Casa Santa Marta. Nag-aalay siya ng bulaklak doon.
Kaya di ba brother, kaya
when he went out
very
of the
critical siya
hospital-
sa mga bureaucracies dahil to a great extent ang tingin niya sa mga bureaucracies ay very luxurious. No? Kaya gusto niya na mas simpleng simbahan.
Remember, he came out as a new pope in a simple vestment, a white vestment,
He
away
was
from
really
the
a
traditional
revolutionary
one.
po. We saw him when he went out of the hospital po. We were there at the Gemelli. And then we saw his car pass by. Talagang lang, very simple lang. Akala namin po diretso na siya sa St. Peter's, but we were surprised that he went to Santa Maria Maggiore. And I think that is already his last visit there. The day that he went out of the hospital, dun siya dumiretso din po eh. He brought the yellow flowers that was given to him.
Okay. We'll leave that there for now. Thank you so much for your time, Brother Lynch Flores, who had a personal encounter with Pope Francis. Thank you so much for your stories and your time today.
Yes
Thank
po.
you, brother.
Yes, ma'am. Apa.
Hindi natin natanong si brother ng congregation niya. Ano ba siya? Nasal Brothers?
Too late.
Brother lang. Natawag lang natin siya brother. Pero
Parang na-mention niya at the start, hindi ba?
I'm not sure.
Congregation of the,
In the past, kasi the Pope would be buried. Not the wake of the Pope would involve a three-layered casket. Meron kang I think cypress, lead, and then oak. So tatlong layers yun. In this particular case, I think the Pope has opted to have a simple wooden casket lined with zinc.
yeah.
Okay, we have another guest here, another priest who is studying over at the Vatican.
Is it Vatican?
He is there in front of St. Peter's Basilica. He is part of our vibrant Colegio Filipino community that houses about more than 50 Filipino priests who study in the center of the Catholic faith. Father Earl, unang-una, no, kamusta ang mood dyan sa harap ng St. Peter's Basilica?
Ayan, so syempre Gretchen, malungkot, no? Well, people are starting to gather. Kanina may mga group of priests, seminarians possible, or mga madre din na nakikita ko, nakasabay ko yung iba na nagdarasal individually. Siguro they're from different colleges, and convents na praying for the death of the Pope. And syempre, maraming ang mga turista dito ngayon sa Vatican dahil alam natin na nasa loob tayo ng Jubilee at ngayon ay Monday of Easter at sa Italy ay bakasyon ito, vakansa, no? So people are taking the opportunity also to visit the churches, especially St. Peter for the celebration of Easter.
Okay, Father, you were mentioning a while ago, narinig mo yung tunog ng kampana sa may kanan, no? Kanan, pagkakaharap mo yung St. Peter's Basilica. Tama ba?
Oh, yes. Oh, actually nagulat ako kasi alam ko pag in-announce yung usually no pag in-announce yung death ng Pope ay napatunog na yung kampana, and it starts with St. Peter's, then the different churches here in Rome and all over the world on the discretion of bishops, no. Pero pagdating ko dito, we noticed that yung death knell, no, na tinatawag, no, yung kampana for the dead na ginagawa rin natin sa ay pinatunog nila dito, no. So sabi ko, nagulat ako kasi hindi ko na in-expect yon, pero yun, saktong-sakto pagdating ko kanina after some minutes nung announcement ay yun, tumutunog yung kampana, no, announcing the death of someone, now in particular the death of Pope Francis.
So, kasi itong kampana na ito, no, nasa may kanan, if you're facing the St. Peter's Basilica, it is locked, no? It's not open. Yung madalas na pinapatugtog yung nasa kaliwa. So ito, pagka it's either when a new pope is elected and a pope dies, that's the only time that you hear that bell.
It's the same bell for when the Pope is elected.
Tama ba ako? It's the same bell that is played when a pope is elected?
Kasi the tone of the bell for when someone dies is malungkot, no? So it's,
Okay.
Slow siguro.
It's sad, no. So yung additional na kapag may na-elect na pope na, which John Paul II, Saint John Paul II have added, no, ay pinapatugtog na masaya, no? So joyful yun. I don't know what particular bell, pero the tone is different, no? Malungkot, talagang for mourning, and syempre pag may bago tayong pope ay yung rejoicing na tunog, no, to announce it to the whole church, the whole community.
Father Earl, what are the adjustments of the church as we say Mass, as you say Mass, with this bit of news?
See. Well, since we're in the octave of Easter, no, we usually don't say Mass for the dead, for Easter, for the octave, which means 8 days, no, after Easter. Kasi this is a very special feast. It's a day of the resurrection. We treat this day as if it is Sunday, no, like today and hanggang sa susunod na linggo. But one of the changes is, di ba, pag nagsisimba tayo, marinig natin si Father na nagmimisa, amalingapin mong iyong simbahang lagan sa buong daigdig. Remember, church spread throughout the world and help us to grow in charity together with, we usually mention Francis, our Pope, no? Si Francisco na aming Papa. Now, like, to take for example, in Cavite, we will omit that, no? And what we'll say is, remember your church throughout the world together with Reynaldo, our Bishop. But here in Rome, since Pope Francis is the Bishop of Rome, so we'll just say, remember your church throughout the world, help us to grow in unity together with all the clergy. No? So, kasi nung si Pope Francis ay buhay pa, ay binabanggit natin together with Francis, our Pope and Bishop, and all the clergy. So, those are some of the changes, and definitely in dioceses all over the world, they will say masses at their respective cathedrals, no? Kasi alam natin sa simbahan yung cathedral yung parang tinatawag natin na ng seat ng isang probinsya o parang kapitolyo, no? It's where the bishop is. So definitely priests will gather, and syempre in their respective parishes you will expect pictures of Pope Francis, no, being displayed with candles, and of course we pray for him, no, kasi he's also a Christian soul, no. Kanina nga nung in-announce ko dun sa GC ng mga pare sa Cavite, sabi ko, well, we pray that God may grant him a merciful judgment, no? And he be welcomed into the Father's home.
Father, can you run us through the timeline that we expect in the next few days? I understand may 9 days na Novendiales, but what comes after that? Immediately after the 9 days ba yung funeral, or iba pang bilang yun?
As to that, we still don't have any information, no, as regards to pero siguro yun nga, naalala ko yung isang movie dun sa Shoes of the Fisherman, eh. Sabi nung isang reporter, when a president dies in an hour, there's a new president. When a king dies, okay, and long live the new king. But when a pope dies, everything stops. No? So everything stops kasi it's something spiritual. It's a spiritual father. No? So we don't know as to when will be what will be the arrangements. No, we wait for the Vatican press to announce it. Then at the same time, no, we pray for the future conclave and for the church, because it's normal in the life of the church that a pope dies and another one comes, and well, we just leave it all to God. Kasi at the end of the day, we don't have any information as to how the kingdom of God will be established here on earth, di ba? So we leave it all to to God.
But Father, I suppose by this time, by today, all 252 cardinals would be making arrangements already to travel to the Vatican.
Yes. Definitely. And ano naman usually, if I'm not mistaken, no, usually they have given the period of like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the conclave, no. So usually they have time, no. Unlike before, no, sasakay pa ng barko yung isang cardinal from America or from Asia, ngayon naman kasi eroplano. So definitely there will be time, and kasi there will be meetings before the conclave, syempre, regarding the status of the church and the things that we need, and to help the cardinals in their discernment, no, in choosing for a new successor of Saint Peter.
Naalala ko lang, Father, nung binanggit niyo yung shoes of the fisherman, na very consistent sa message ni Pope Francis. Yung sabi, yung binanggit nung Pope dun sa sinulat ni Maurice West na why did a perfect God chose such an imperfect institution like the church to manifest His message? No? At yun yung usual na self-criticism ni Pope Francis sa kanyang mga sermon. No? Di ba? Very self-critical siya. Hindi niya tinitignan yung institution as a perfect institution. Naalala ko lang dahil binanggit nyo yung shoes of the fisherman.
Yes. And thank you for that remarks, kasi
Maurice
even
West
us, we recognize that. No? It's nothing new what Pope Francis said. It's clear to us, everyone, that the church is human and divine. It's holy and yet sinful also, no? Like a human person, no? At napakaganda nun kasi maganda yun parang niyayanig tayo, no, na hindi maging complacent, no, na talagang we allow ourselves to be drawn by the Spirit wherever it wills. No? So it's a very good remark, no, what you say.
How does a leadership change or affect the Jubilee plans this year, Father? How do you think? May impact ba?
Well, the Jubilee runs as usual since it's part of the church, and actually, even if the Pope is dead, no, someone leads the church. It's through the College of Cardinals, specifically the Camerlengo, no. Pero hindi ko alam kung sino yung Camerlengo na ngayon, no. Pero habang buhay ang Pope kasi may naka-assign na dyan kung sino magiging Camerlengo who will the simple and minor decisions for the church.
The Camerlengo who announced his death is Cardinal
Farrell.
Kevin Farrell.
Yeah.
Aside
So
dun sa mga-
he will take in charge of some things in running the church.
Until such time a new pope is elected.
Yes, until such time a new pope is selected. Yeah.
Father, aside dun sa mga official activities proceeding from the death of Pope Francis, ano yung mga activities na pinaplano nung Filipino community dyan sa Vatican at saka sa Rome? Especially yung mga religious. Meron na ba kayong napag-usapan na gagawin?
So as of now, wala pa kasi parang isang oras pa lang yung announcement no. We don't prepare for such things no, parang sa isang pamilya no. Kahit alam natin na may mamamatay na no, hindi naman ganung no kadali. Tsaka sabi ko nga napansin ko parang yung ibang tourist parang hindi pa nila alam kasi baka galing sila sa loob and all no. So, well, but definitely there will be activities like celebration of Holy Mass and gathering here at St. Peter's to pray for the late pontiff.
Pero may misa kayo, no? Sa koledyo, tama ba?
Yeah. Kanina nag-announce namin yung rector na for those who are still here or at the koledyo, we'll celebrate Mass in a few minutes at the crypt, no? Which is something very good. No? So yun yung isa sa mga activities na yan, na ginawa ngayon no, ng mga Filipino priests dito. Yun nga lang, ako nandito sa labas kasi
Yeah.
I want to pray here at St. Peter's no, for Pope Francis.
May tukoy na tao ba, Father, from the Filipino community and religious na magko-convene sa inyo in the next few days? Or kanya-kanya ito? Kanya-kanya na lang na magkikita?
Yeah. Kanya-kanya, yes.
Wait, Father, talk to us about the representation of the Filipino community there. We do know that you are more than 50 priests at Colegio, but that's not the only representation we have. Ang dami kong na-meet dyan na mga madre at mga pare mula sa ibang congregation. Gaano kadaming Pinoy ang nandyan?
Yung siguro pag sinabi natin yung kung ganong kadami, marami. marami no. Hindi ko alam, wala pong siguro in number or figures, pero to describe it, maraming Filipino kasi kahit nga saan ka magpunta hindi ka maliligaw, hindi ka matatakot dito sa Roma, sa dami ng Pinoy, halos lahat ng religious congregations may Pinoy no, both for men and women, at saka maliban doon sa 50 na pare ng Colegio Filipino, marami rin tayong religious priests na mga Filipino dito sa Roma at sa buong Italia. No? So, definitely marami no, to say it.
Nandiyan yung mga Benedictines, yung mga Franciscans, Jesuits are also there, of course.
Jesuits, yeah.
Nung nandiyan ako last January, Father, ang sabi ni Father Albert, mga 5,000 raw mga religious dyan.
Dominicans nga pala.
Lahat na ng congregation.
At teka lang, hindi lang basta-basta ang role ng Filipinos dyan. There are those who are leading the congregations. Katulad na lang sa mga Dominicans, Pilipino yung nagli-lead doon. At meron pang isa pa, parang 5 yata yung Filipino leaders there. Lasal Brothers are led by a Filipino.
Brother Armin.
Oh, that's right. Si Brother Armin Luistro.
Father, why is that? Why do you think Filipinos are so prominent there in the Vatican?
We're the only Catholic nation in Asia.
No, East Timor is more Catholic than we are.
Predominantly
East Timor
majority
has
Catholic.
90+% Catholics versus our 80+%.
Di ba isang barangay dito?
Santa Monica, those numbers. But Father, what do you think? Why are Filipinos so prominent in the Vatican?
Well, siguro not particularly at the Vatican, but here in Rome, because Rome is the center of Christianity. You know? I mean, it's where the Pope is. So definitely, usually na yung mga major houses ng mga religious congregations ay andito. Siguro significant lang na represented tayo kasi marami tayong mga vocations, no, mga vocations sa Pilipinas. No? At saka siguro hindi lang yung mga religious congregations, no, pero syempre yung mga kababayan nating Pilipino na nandito sa Roma, sa Italia, dahil alam natin na nakakita sila dito ng mas magandang oportunidad, no, para magkaroon ng dissenting pamumuhay para sa kanilang sarili at para sa kanilang pamilya. Yan.
Okay. We'll let you get back to your prayers. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, Father Earl Tan.
Sarap ang pagkain dyan sa Colegio, Father.
Filipino.
Coming to us live from St. Peter's Square.
Oh, naganda sila.
nag-lunch ka.
Naganda sila
Kumain ka
sa
doon.
akin ng tuyo. Kasi
Dinuguan yung
request ko.
kinain ko dyan last January.
Ito ba yung Gretchen Mafia?
Yung sinigang.
Sinigang.
At sinigang. Oo, nagluto si Father Cook. Actually, hinanap pa nila kasi ang dami dyang mga sari-sari store na nagbebenta ng Filipino ingredients. No, so at hindi Pilipino ang nagra-run ng mga stores na yon. Marami iba't ibang nationality because of how
The audience, the market is.
Italy is actually the first country in Europe yata to host Filipino workers, and they have the most number.
Almost
I believe.
300,000.
Lalo na sa Milan, di ba? Marami. Actually, may
Dami dyan.
talagang well represented and hindi mamimiss ng mga Pilipino.
Especially
Filipino
Jollibee.
food over there. Doon ako nakatira malapit sa Jollibee.
Jollibee.
Nung
Haba ng
nagpunta ako
pila.
doon.
Jollibee doon?
Tinikman ko. Okay naman.
In Rome.
We are not fishing for ads. Hey, I looked up the Camerlengo. The Camerlengo is not just administrator, but he's also he's also tasked with verifying the death.
Kaya nga, that's why he was the one who announced.
Pero,
And
And
siya
then
yung
he
OIC.
oversees the funeral.
He's essentially the OIC.
The OIC.
ganun pa rin ba
Sovereign,
ngayon?
acting sovereign.
Ganun pa rin ba? Paano hindi na-autopsy ang Pope eh? Walang autopsy. No, kaya
Bakit
I
yun na
can't
may
imagine.
autopsy?
nagkaroon ng pandyan ng kaunting mga reklamo nung namatay si Pope John Paul I.
the first.
in less than a month.
Ang daming intriga nun eh. Oh.
Daming intriga.
I guess in this case, parang it's a foregone conclusion that he had
Yeah,
a lot of health
matagal na siya sa
worries,
kwan.
right? Matagal na
Hindi,
yung
pero
sakit.
ayun nga, talagang parang tradition yun. Walang autopsy ang mga pope na namamatay.
And then we were talking about how he was a surprise choice to become Pope in 2013. But actually, I looked it up, and in 2005, he came second to Pope Benedict. So he scored the second most number of votes from the Conclave to become Pope in 2005.
Yung isang pinakamahalagang chapter dun sa Shoes of the Fisherman, yung Conclave. At yung Conclave dun, almost by acclamation. Usually kasi 4 na beses boboto per day. Until makuha yung 2/3, ay magpapatuloy yung ganung boto.
Correct, yeah.
Casting of ballot 4 times. Dun sa Shoes of the Fisherman, parang ang daming mga nagtutunggali ng mga kandidato. Pero yung naging Pope, hindi siya kasama, parang yung Conclave ng movie.
Yes.
Hindi siya kasama dun sa prefereti. No?
Pero may magandang naging speech.
Yes, by acclamation
yung
yun.
nasa conclave. And that was what I was hearing about Pope Francis as well. Parang bigla na lang napasalita. Kaya nakuha niya yung 2/3 of votes.
Yes.
So, syempre, we
So
don't
you're
really-
allowed to give give a speech to address the
Yeah, I believe it
the
was
electorate, the
usually
conclave.
what they discern on is where they want the church to go and what the church needs
Correct.
in the modern times.
Yeah.
And then nagkaroon ng ganong pagkakataon na nag-speech daw si Pope Francis. So of course, this is according to our insider information. Na wala talaga nakakaalam kasi
Dahil total
it should
ang
be
kanyan.
Total blackout.
Total
Yes.
ang oath
Total
to
secret.
secrecy.
Yeah.
Hindi pwede magsalita yung mga papasok sa conclave kahit tapos na. Wala magsasalita.
But yeah, it's also a function of the times we live in, right? So 2005, okay, they elected a more conservative, shall we say, Pope, who is Pope Benedict XVI. No, 2013, they kind of swung to the other side, so it became Pope Francis. And now we're in 2025. The question is, which way will they go? As we have just been talking about, parang he is generally seen as a more liberal, more progressive, more inclusive Pope, specifically because he embraced the sectors of society not normally that are overlooked. For instance, yung mga migrants, the marginalized, the poor.
And if you take a look at the vicinity of the St. Peter's Basilica, around those yung mga colonnades, may mga homeless doon. There are tents being set up, and every night they are allowed to sleep there. And the Pope has been building or working on a shelter for the homeless where they can stay for the night and then they have to leave the next morning and then stay again. So if you go there, mapapansin mo sobrang daming homeless talaga. And there are those who feed them, give them food, soup, something for the night. And it's because of the openness of the church.
I was going to say
to
that
receive
was his
them.
legacy because he talked often and showed it in his actions. This love for the poor, right? This embrace of the poor and the marginalized. The question is, pag bumalik sa more Eurocentric Pope, how does that change things? I mean, I get what sino ba yun, si Father Coke was saying about it comes back to the teachings of Christ. So nandun na yung foundation, but it's still, you know, there's still nuances to it.
Baka inayos na rin ni Pope Francis yan bago siya pumanaw. No?
By
Ang dami niyang
very,
mga sa totoo ang dami niyang
very,
pinirmahan.
very
Oo.
pragmatic.
Oo.
Hindi lang siya
Nagka-donation pa. Nung nasa hospital siya, nagka-donation for that shelter, for the homeless.
okay.
So you'd be surprised
kaya nga yung mga
by
conservatives
all the
binabanatan yung
decisions.
kanyang appointments. Dahil nag-a-appoint siya ng mga medyo katulad niya. No?
And there was a Filipino, I believe, appointed as nuncio, apostolic nuncio in Spain or in Europe. So he's still putting Filipinos up there, up top at the leadership roles around the
Reverse
Vatican.
imperialism.
Oo nga eh. Doon siya in Spain is Filipino, di ba?
And women in top
Pero
positions
ang
as
maganda, to just explain to you the landscape, ang mga Pilipino, we're all over. We're not necessarily cliquish that the Filipinos just hang out together, but you can find them in many dicasteries all over the Vatican. So, magaling makisama, no? Kaya hindi mo mapopinpoint sa isang circle lang, social circle ang mga Pilipino doon. Dahil they can be found everywhere.
Even Filipinos are...
Conservative.
Hindi, ibig sabihin may fractions sila.
Yeah.
May mga Pilipino rin
Iba-iba
na
din
as
yan,
conservative as the Europeans. No?
That's correct, that's correct.
Mga
Or
ganyan din mga
more.
Pilipino. So,
Or even more, that's right.
Hindi lahat ng mga Pinoy
Are aligned on the same principles or beliefs over where the church should go.
Halimbawa, yung
Even some Filipinos are uncomfortable with the
Yeah,
way
yes.
the Pope ruled.
hindi yung mga Arneo.
Well,
yung mga Arneo, kwan yan, Jesuit yan.
No,
This is
I
the
mean-
first Jesuit Pope. So, halimbawa, yung sinasabi ni Pope Francis na synodality, that's tinuturo kila sa mga Arneo.
Sa Arneo.
Yan. Yung spiritual discernment, naku, basic yan sa mga Jesuita.
Tinuro ba yan sa mga taga-UST?
Hindi, kwan kami, Dominicano kami.
Mga pioneer.
Even when he said homosexuality is not a crime, right? A lot of quarters weren't happy with that either, diba?
And to be honest, even on the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte, the church is even divided on that. I mean, the Filipino priests on how they should talk in their homilies, how do they discuss something as sensitive as that? Medyo
Exactly.
doon pa lang sensitibo, napaka-sensitibo at divided din.
Pero nag-unite yung CBCP sa statement nila about accountability. Yun yung first unified statement na nilabas ng CBCP pagka-aresto ni ex-President Digong. Siyempre, may mga ilang...
Akala ko hindi na natin siya
merong
ma-mention today.
ilang nagreklamo, lalo na yung mga base sa Davao, no? Nagreklamo sila na pwede bang tumahimik na lang tayo, pero sabi ng leadership ng CBCP, hindi na pwedeng tumahimik. No? Kwento eh.
But the president of the CBCP is
Ambo David.
Ambo David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yung nung
And the
tinethreaten siya,
context there is,
nung tinetre-
for the viewers, ano yung
nung
context?
tinethreaten siya na ipapatay ni Digong, no? Ay pinatawag siya ni Pope Francis. Sabi, inawakan siya sa kamay, sa
That's
braso, at sinabihan siya, we're watching, we're behind you.
That's
In-assure
right.
siya nun.
Kasi it's been a
Nakalimutan ko
while
na
since
yun. There were threats.
Threats. At saka hindi lang yun. Ninanakaw daw niya yung mga prutas sa simbahan. At siya daw ay peddler ng drugs dahil paggabi, naglilibot siya sa kanyang diocese. Ganon.
Ganun ka-amazing.
Pero kung dati,
Those were the days, no?
minumura o namura ni Digong ang Diyos. Ngayon naman sinasabi nila nagdarasal sila para sa kanya. So yun din naman
Medyo
ang
ironic
binabato
din.
ng mga tao. Oo.
But it's been a while since the CBCP spoke about something like this.
That's why he's saying,
Took a stand
that was
like
the first unified
Yeah.
statement
Oh,
against
about accountability.
an
It's
issue.
really been a while.
This is about accountability.
Okay,
Hindi ko na sabihin yung mga obispo na nagreklamo. Pero
basta they issued a joint,
bubulong ko na lang kay Reg.
basta joint statement. We have to wrap the show now, but again, this was a historic day. Pope Francis has died at the age of 88. Today, Easter Monday, April 21st. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.